Captain Peter Wright's eyes snap open as his escape pod crashes onto the surface of an unknown planet. His thing between legs throbs with pain from the impact, a harbinger of the bizarre fate awaiting him. Dazed and bleeding, Peter crawls from the wreckage. Alien sunlight blinds him momentarily. As his vision clears, he finds himself surrounded by a group of humanoid creatures. Their faces, a mix of curiosity and awe, study his every move. A stunningly beautiful female steps forward. Her skin shimmers with an otherworldly iridescence. She activates a small device at her throat. "I am Tina," a synthesized voice translates. "Welcome to Arcturia, Divine One." Peter's confusion deepens as the creatures fall to their knees, eyes fixed on his lower body. He follows their gaze, realizing his torn spacesuit exposes his male anatomy. Tina explains, her voice filled with reverence, "Our prophecies speak of a being with your unique attributes. We Arcturians are a single-sex species. Your arrival heralds a new era for our people." Still disoriented, Peter allows himself to be escorted towards a gleaming city on the horizon. As they travel, he marvels at the advanced technology surrounding him. Vehicles hover silently above the ground. Structures seem to defy gravity. It's clear that Arcturian capabilities far surpass those of Earth. The group enters the city, a metropolis of soaring spires and pulsing energy fields. Peter's amazement is tempered by the constant stares and whispers of the Arcturians they pass. He's brought before an imposing building, its architecture a blend of organic curves and crystalline surfaces. Inside, Peter faces the Arcturian High Council. Elder beings, their features etched with wisdom and concern, regard him intently. The lead counselor speaks, her words echoing through the chamber. "Your arrival coincides with a grave threat to our world. The Binars, a aggressive alien race, seek to conquer Arcturia for its resources. Our prophecies foretold a savior would come to lead us to victory. We believe you are that savior." Peter's mind reels. He's stranded on an alien world, hailed as a deity, and now expected to save an entire civilization. The weight of their expectations presses down on him like a physical force. As the council session ends, Tina guides Peter to his new quarters in the palace. The luxurious room does little to ease his turmoil. He's torn between his desperate desire to return home and a growing attraction to Tina, his assigned protector and guide. Peter steps onto a balcony overlooking the alien cityscape. The unfamiliar constellations above remind him of the vast distance separating him from Earth. He contemplates the extraordinary situation he's found himself in, a human stranded on a planet where his anatomy is worshipped, facing an interstellar conflict and potential romance. As night falls on Arcturia, Captain Peter Wright, accidental deity and reluctant savior, steels himself for the challenges ahead. His thing between legs may have granted him divine status, but it's his human ingenuity and adaptability that will truly be put to the test in the days to come. As the alien constellations twinkled above, Peter took a deep breath of the unfamiliar Arcturian air. The weight of his new responsibilities settled upon him like a heavy cloak. He turned from the balcony and stepped back into his opulent quarters, his mind racing with the events of the past few hours. The following days passed in a whirlwind of activity. The High Council, eager to prepare their prophesied savior, wasted no time in immersing Peter in intensive training. Each morning, he found himself in vast, gleaming halls filled with technology beyond his wildest imagination. Tina, ever present at his side, guided him through the intricacies of Arcturian combat techniques and advanced weaponry. Her gentle touch and patient explanations helped ease the overwhelming nature of his crash course in alien warfare. "Focus your energy here," Tina instructed, placing her hand on a shimmering control panel. As Peter mimicked her actions, he felt a sudden jolt of energy course through his body. The sensation was unlike anything he had experienced before, a tingling warmth that seemed to connect him to the very essence of the Arcturian technology. "What was that?" Peter gasped, his eyes wide with wonder. Tina's iridescent skin seemed to glow brighter as she explained, "It's our way of interfacing with our technology. We can transfer energy through physical contact. For us, it's a natural process, but for you..." She trailed off, her gaze lingering on Peter's face. As the days progressed, Peter found himself growing more comfortable with this energy transfer. Each session with Tina became an intimate dance of shared power and growing connection. The air between them crackled with an unspoken tension that went beyond mere student and teacher. One afternoon, as they practiced advanced shield techniques, Peter's hand brushed against Tina's arm. The resulting surge of energy left them both breathless, their bodies humming with a pleasure that transcended the physical. "I'm sorry," Peter stammered, taking a step back. "I didn't mean to." Tina's synthesized voice trembled slightly as she replied, "There's no need to apologize, Peter. This is natural." Their training sessions took on a new intensity after that, each touch charged with potential and unspoken desire. Yet even as Peter's mastery of Arcturian technology grew, so did the looming threat of the Biners. During a particularly grueling combat simulation, alarms blared throughout the training facility. Peter and Tina rushed to the High Council chambers, where grim-faced elders awaited them. "A Binar scouting party has entered our solar system," the lead counselor announced, her voice tight with concern. "We must act quickly. Captain Wright, we believe your unique perspective may provide valuable insights. We're sending you on a reconnaissance mission to a nearby moon where we've detected Binar's activity." Peter's heart raced at the prospect of his first real mission. As he nodded his acceptance, he caught sight of a new face in the chamber, a stern-looking Arcturian with military insignia adorning their uniform. The lead counselor gestured to the newcomer. "This is Commander Zax, leader of our military forces. They will be overseeing the tactical aspects of your mission." Zax's eyes narrowed as they assessed Peter. "Let's hope our divine savior is more than just a curiosity," they said, their synthesized voice dripping with skepticism. Before Peter could respond, the council announced that a sacred blessing ceremony would be held to prepare him for the mission. He found himself ushered into a dimly lit chamber, its walls adorned with ancient Arcturian symbols. "You must disrobe," an elder instructed. "The sacred oils must be applied directly to your skin." Feeling suddenly vulnerable, Peter complied. As he stood naked before the assembled Arcturians, he saw a mix of reverence and fascination in their eyes. Tina stepped forward, a vial of shimmering liquid in her hands. "As your protector, I will perform this sacred duty," she said softly. Peter's breath caught in his throat as Tina's hands, slick with the fragrant oil, began to move across his body. Each touch sent waves of that now familiar energy coursing through him. He struggled to maintain his composure, acutely aware of the watching council members. As the ceremony concluded, Peter couldn't help but notice the flushed appearance of Tina's iridescent skin. Their eyes met, and a moment of unspoken understanding passed between them. The following days were a blur of final preparations. Peter threw himself into his training, pushing himself to master every technique Tina showed him. Yet even as he focused on the mission ahead, he couldn't shake the growing feelings he harbored for his Arcturian protector. The night before the mission, Peter found himself unable to sleep. He paced his quarters, his mind filled with doubts and a gnawing homesickness. A soft chime announced a visitor, Tina. "I sensed your distress," she said as she entered. "Are you all right, Peter?" They talked for hours, sharing fears and hopes. As the alien night deepened around them, Peter felt the distance between them shrink. Just as he gathered the courage to voice his growing feelings, an urgent summons from the High Council interrupted them. In the council chambers, they received dire news. The Binar's scouting party had accelerated its approach. Peter's mission needed to launch immediately. As he boarded the sleek Arcturian spacecraft, Peter's mind whirled with conflicting emotions. He was determined to help his new allies, yet his heart ached at the thought of leaving Tina behind. As the ship's engines hummed to life, he caught a final glimpse of her watching from below, her expression mirroring his own complex feelings. The spacecraft lifted off, carrying Peter towards his first confrontation with the Binars. As Arcturia shrank behind him, he steeled himself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the fate of his new home and his own future hung in the balance. As the Arcturian spacecraft pierced the atmosphere of the nearby moon, Peter gripped the control panel, his fingers tingling with the now familiar energy transfer. The barren lunar landscape stretched out beneath him, a stark contrast to the vibrant world he'd left behind. His mind drifted briefly to Tina, her iridescent skin and gentle touch, a comforting memory amidst the tension of his first real mission. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. Warning lights flashed across the console as an invisible force slammed into the hull. "Cloaked Binar's weapon!" Peter shouted, his training kicking in as he fought to regain control. The engine sputtered and died, leaving the craft in an uncontrolled descent towards the moon's surface. Impact. The world spun. Metal screamed against rock. When the dust settled, Peter found himself sprawled on the floor of the cockpit, his body aching but intact. He dragged himself to his feet, assessing the damage. The ship was a wreck, its sleek lines now a twisted mass of metal and shattered crystal. Peter's heart raced as he realized the gravity of his situation. Stranded on hostile territory, cut off from Arcturia. He took a deep breath, centering himself. "Focus," he muttered, Tina's voice echoing in his mind. "Assess, adapt, survive." He scavenged the wreckage, salvaging essential supplies, emergency rations, a portable energy cell, and a basic medical kit. The ship's communication array lay in ruins, any hope of contacting Arcturia lost among the debris. Peter slung the makeshift pack over his shoulder and stepped out onto the lunar surface. The desolate landscape stretched in every direction, broken only by distant craters and jagged rock formations. Peter activated the atmospheric shield he'd been given, a thin energy barrier that allowed him to breathe in the otherwise inhospitable environment. He set out across the barren terrain, his footsteps light in the low gravity. Hours passed as Peter traversed the alien moonscape. His senses, honed by weeks of intensive training, remained on high alert. A glint of metal caught his eye, barely visible behind a towering rock formation. Peter crouched low, inching forward to investigate. His breath caught in his throat as the hidden Binar's outpost came into view. Sleek, angular structures rose from the lunar soil, their surfaces shimmering with an oily iridescence. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their insectoid forms a stark reminder of the threat they posed. Peter's mind raced, weighing his options. The mission parameters flashed through his thoughts. Reconnaissance, gather intelligence, report back. With no way to contact Arcturia, he realized his only choice was to press forward. He would have to infiltrate the outpost himself. Drawing on the stealth techniques Tina had drilled into him, Peter moved silently across the open ground. He timed his movements with the guards' patrols, using the low gravity to make impossibly long, silent leaps between patches of shadow. His heart pounded in his ears as he slipped past the final sentry and into the outpost itself. Inside, Peter navigated a maze of corridors, his every sense straining for signs of danger. He found himself in what appeared to be a command center, holographic displays flickering with data. His eyes widened as he took in the information before him. Detailed invasion plans, schematics of advanced weaponry, the true scale of the Binar's fleet. The Arcturians were hopelessly outmatched. Peter's fingers flew across the alien controls, trying to access the outpost communication systems. If he could just send a message to Arcturia, warn them of what was coming. A harsh cry cut through the air. Peter spun to see a Binar's patrol, their compound eyes fixed on him with murderous intent. There was no time to think, only react. Peter launched himself at the nearest attacker, his body moving with a fluidity born of countless hours of training. The fight was brutal and swift. Peter's human physiology, so strange to the Arcturians, proved equally alien to the Binars. He moved in ways they couldn't anticipate, his strength and agility enhanced by the low gravity. In moments, the patrol lay unconscious at his feet. Breathing heavily, Peter turned back to the console. His fingers danced across the controls, sending a burst of encrypted data towards Arcturia. He included his coordinates, details of the invasion plans, and a desperate plea for extraction. As the message transmitted, alarms blared throughout the facility. His position was compromised. Peter snatched up a fallen Binar's weapon, its unfamiliar weight balanced awkwardly in his hands. He sprinted from the command center, adrenaline surging through his veins. Behind him, he could hear the angry buzz of Binar's reinforcements mobilizing. He burst out of the outpost, the open lunar landscape before him. Peter pushed off hard, using the moon's reduced gravity to propel himself in enormous bounds. Binar's energy weapons sizzled past him, superheating the rocky ground where he had been moments before. As he fled, Peter's mind raced. He needed shelter, a place to regroup and plan his next move. In the distance, he spotted a series of dark openings in a cliff face, caves. With a final, desperate leap, he sailed through the air and into the mouth of the nearest cave. Darkness enveloped him as he pressed himself against the cool stone walls, listening intently for signs of pursuit. As his eyes adjusted to the gloom, Peter gasped. The cave walls pulsed with an ethereal blue-green light, emanating from strange, plant-like organisms that clung to the rock. Fascinated despite the danger, Peter reached out to touch one of the glowing structures. It reacted to his presence, its luminescence intensifying. An idea began to form in his mind, a way to signal his position to potential rescuers without alerting the Binars. As he gathered samples of the bioluminescent lifeforms, Peter allowed himself a moment of reflection. His thoughts turned to Tina, to the connection they'd forged through their training sessions. He realized with a start that his feelings for her had grown into something deeper, more profound than mere physical attraction. The memory of her iridescent skin and gentle guidance gave him renewed strength. Peter settled deeper into the cave, cradling the stolen Binar's weapon. He knew that somewhere above, Tina would be fighting to mount a rescue mission. He smiled grimly, tenacity etched on his features. He would survive. He would find a way back to Arcturia, back to her, and together they would face whatever challenges the universe had in store. Store for them both. Peter's muscles tensed as he heard the distant rumble of approaching spacecraft. He peered out from the cave entrance, his stolen Binar's weapon at the ready. A flash of familiar iridescence caught his eye. Arcturian ships. His heart leapt as he recognized Tina's sleek vessel leading the formation. Relief turned to dread as a swarm of Binars' fighters erupted from hidden hangars across the lunar surface. The sky above exploded into chaos, energy beams crisscrossing the void as the two forces collided. Peter sprang into action. He bounded across the cratered landscape, using the low gravity to his advantage. The Binar's weapon felt alive in his hands as he took aim at the insectoid ships harrying Tina's approach vector. "Come on," he muttered, lining up his shot. The weapon discharged, a lance of crimson energy striking a Binar's fighter's wing. It spiraled out of control, crashing into another ship in a spectacular explosion. Tina's voice crackled through his communicator. "Peter, we've located your position. Can you clear us a path to land?" "On it," Peter called back, his body surging with adrenaline. He leapt from cover to cover, firing precise shots that forced the Binars to break formation. With each successful hit, he felt a fierce joy, not just at his growing mastery of the alien weapon, but at the knowledge that Tina was drawing closer. A Binar's ground patrol spotted him, mandibles clicking in anger as they opened fire. Peter dove behind a rocky outcropping, feeling the heat of their energy blasts sizzle past. He popped up, squeezing off a rapid series of shots that sent the patrol scattering. Above, Tina's ship weaved through the aerial melee with breathtaking grace. Peter watched in awe as she executed a perfect barrel roll, evading enemy fire while her gunners picked off two more Binars fighters. "We're coming in hot," Tina's voice rang out. "Brace yourself." Peter saw his opening. He charged from cover, sprinting across open ground as he laid down suppressing fire. The Binars scattered, giving Tina the window she needed. Her ship swooped low, kicking up a cloud of lunar dust as it touched down. The hatch opened, and there she was. Tina's iridescent skin shimmered as she leapt from the ship, her own weapon blazing. Peter felt a surge of energy unlike anything he'd experienced before. Not just the familiar Arcturian transfer, but something deeper, more primal. They moved in perfect synchronization, covering each other's blind spots as they fought their way back to the ship. The moment they were both inside, Tina slammed the hatch controls. The engines roared to life, catapulting them skyward. As the ship broke atmosphere, Peter and Tina's eyes locked. Without a word, they came together in a fierce embrace. Energy crackled between them, their bodies glowing with an intensity that bathed the entire cockpit in ethereal light. "I thought I'd lost you," Tina whispered, her fingers tracing the contours of Peter's face. Never, Peter replied, pulling her closer. Their lips met in a kiss that sent shockwaves through them both. The unique melding of human passion and Arcturian energy transfer created sensations neither had ever dreamed possible. A startled gasp broke the moment. They turned to see the rescue team staring at them in wide-eyed amazement. The Arcturians had never witnessed their energy transfer used in such an intimate, intense manner. Tina flushed, her skin taking on a deeper shade of blue. "We should prepare for the debrief," she said, her voice husky. Peter nodded, reluctantly putting some distance between them. "Right. We've got a lot to discuss." He pulled out the data crystal he'd stolen from the Binar's outpost. "This contains their full invasion plans. It's not good." As they sped back towards Arcturia, Peter and Tina huddled over the ship's holoprojector, analyzing the Benars's data. The rest of the crew gave them space, still processing what they'd witnessed during the rescue. "The scale of their fleet," Tina murmured, her expression grim. "It's far beyond anything we anticipated." Peter nodded, his mind racing. "But look here," he pointed to a schematic of a Benars's warship. "Their propulsion systems rely on a specific type of energy matrix. If we could disrupt that—" Tina's eyes widened. "The bioluminescent organisms you discovered in the caves. With some modification, we might be able to use them to create an energy field that could cripple their ships." Their excitement grew as they delved deeper into the data, formulating strategies and countermeasures. As they worked, their bodies remained in constant contact, energy flowing freely between them. Neither seemed fully aware of how this casual intimacy was affecting the Arcturian crew around them. Hours later, Arcturia's gleaming spires came into view. As they prepared for landing, Peter felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. He knew the information he carried would shake Arcturian society to its core, and his evolving relationship with Tina, that would bring its own set of challenges. The ship touched down in the heart of the capital city. A crowd had gathered, with the High Council at its forefront. Peter took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Whatever trials lay ahead, he was ready to face them, with Tina by his side and the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance. Balance. The gravity of the situation greatly troubled on Peter as he stepped off the ship, Tina close behind him. The assembled crowd buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Peter could feel their eyes upon him, some filled with hope, others with suspicion. He straightened his back, squaring his shoulders as he approached the High Council. "Peter Wright," intoned the lead counselor, her iridescent skin shimmering with almost unchecked energy. "Your actions have brought us vital intelligence, but also great peril. The Binar's threat looms larger than ever." Peter nodded solemnly. "Counselors, I understand the gravity of our situation, but I believe I've found a way to defend Arcturia." He produced a sample of the bioluminescent organisms from the lunar caves, their soft glow pulsing gently in his palm. "These life forms react to energy in a way that could disrupt Binar's technology. With your permission, I'd like to work with your scientists to develop a planetary defense system." The council chambers erupted in a flurry of discussion. Some voices cried out in support, while others warned of unknown dangers. Through it all, Peter felt Tina's steadying presence beside him, her energy a constant source of strength. As the debate raged, Peter threw himself into the work. Days blurred together as he collaborated with Arcturian engineers, combining their advanced technology with the unique properties of the lunar organisms. The first successful test of the energy field generator sent a ripple of hope through the capital city. But not everyone welcomed the changes Peter brought. Elder Vox, leader of the conservative faction, stood before a growing crowd in the central plaza. His voice boomed across the gathering, amplified by Arcturian technology. "We cannot allow this outsider to reshape our society," Vox declared, his skin flashing with agitation. "His presence alone has already begun to corrupt our youth, to erode the very foundations of our culture." The crowd's energy swelled, threatening to spill over into violence. Peter watched from a distance, his heart heavy. He turned to Tina, seeing the conflict in her eyes. "I never meant to cause such division," he said softly. Tina placed a hand on his arm, her touch sending a familiar surge of energy through him. Change is never easy, Peter, but that doesn't mean it isn't necessary. Before Peter could respond, a comm link chimed urgently. Commander Zax's voice cut through the air, tense and urgent. The Binar's fleet has entered our system. They'll reach Arcturia within hours. Peter's mind raced. The defense system wasn't fully operational yet. They needed more time. Tina, he said, his voice filled with persistence, I need you to buy us that time. Can you mediate between Elder Vox and the High Council? If we're divided when the Binars arrive, we won't stand a chance. Tina nodded, her expression resolute. I'll do what I can, but Peter, be careful. The energy field generators are still unstable. Don't push them too far. As Tina departed for the council chambers, Peter sprinted towards the nearest generator installation. He arrived to find a team of Arcturian technicians working feverishly to bring the system online. Status report, Peter called out, his eyes scanning the intricate web of energy conduits and pulsing bioluminescent nodes. The lead technician turned, her skin flickering with stress. The primary matrix is stable, but we're having trouble synchronizing the secondary relays. If we activate now, we risk overload. Peter's mind whirled, recalling everything he'd learned about Arcturian technology. What if we reroute power through the tertiary circuit? It might reduce our overall coverage, but it should give us a stable field. The technician's eyes widened. That could work, but it's never been attempted at this scale. We don't have a choice, Peter said grimly. The Binars will be here soon. We need to be ready. As Peter and the technicians raced to implement the modifications, he felt a subtle shift in the air. Looking up, he saw the first flashes of weapons fire in the upper atmosphere. The battle had begun. With a final push, the energy field generators hummed to life. A shimmering dome of blue-green light spread across the sky, meeting the Binar's onslaught head-on. Peter watched in awe as the first wave of enemy ships faltered, their systems disrupted by the unfamiliar energy. But the Binars were quick to adapt. Peter's comm link crackled with reports from around the planet as the invaders targeted the generators themselves. He knew they needed a new strategy, and fast. An idea struck him. Commander Zax, he called out, can we modify our ships to project localized energy fields? We could create a mobile defense platform. There was a moment of silence before Zax's reply came through. It's risky, but it might just work. I'll assemble a team immediately. As Peter prepared to join the retrofit efforts, he caught sight of Tina emerging from the council chambers. Her expression was a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Elder Vox has agreed to a temporary truce, she reported. The High Council is united in support of our defense efforts. Peter felt a surge of admiration for Tina's diplomatic skills. That's incredible news. We'll need everyone working together if we're going to survive this. Their eyes met, and for a moment the chaos of battle faded away. Peter felt the familiar pull of their connection, the energy between them intensifying. But before they could act on it, Commander Zax's voice cut through their shared moment. Peter, we need you at the shipyards now. The first squadron is ready for modification. With a reluctant nod, Peter turned to go. Tina caught his hand, her touch sending a jolt through him. Be careful out there, she said softly. You too, Peter replied, squeezing her hand before sprinting towards the waiting shuttle. As he boarded the ship that would take him to the front lines, Peter's mind raced with possibilities. The battle for Arcturia had only just begun, and he knew that the actions he took in the coming hours would shape not only his own fate, but that of his adopted world. As the shuttle ascended towards the orbiting Arcturian fleet, Peter's mind raced with possibilities and uncertainties. The journey to the neutral space station was tense, filled with hurried preparations and strategy sessions. Commander Zax briefed Peter and Tina on diplomatic protocols, but Peter could sense the underlying anxiety in the Arcturian's flickering skin. As they docked at the station, Peter took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The airlock hissed open, revealing a stark, utilitarian corridor. Peter, Tina, and Commander Zax stepped forward, their footsteps echoing in the silence. They rounded a corner and froze. Before them stood a sight that defied all expectations. The Binar's leader, Kraz, towered over them, his reptilian form resplendent with iridescent scales that shimmered under the station's harsh lighting. But it was his eyes that captivated Peter, piercing yellow orbs that seemed to bore into his very soul. "Welcome, representatives of Arcturia," Kraz said, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the corridor. The perfect Arcturian that flowed from his mouth sent a ripple of shock through the delegation. Peter recovered first, stepping forward with a slight bow. "We appreciate your willingness to meet, Commander Kraz." Kraz's mouth curled into what might have been a smile. "We have studied your kind for many years, Peter Wright. Your arrival on Arcturia has accelerated certain plans." The delegation was ushered into a large circular chamber. As they took their seats around a gleaming table, Peter couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something far more complex than a simple peace negotiation. Kraz wasted no time getting to the heart of the matter. "Our conflict stems not from a desire for conquest, but from necessity," he began, his clawed hands splaying across the table's surface. "There is a mineral found only on Arcturia, essential for our species' survival." Peter leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of mineral?" "One with properties unknown to Arcturian science," Kraz replied. "It holds the key to curing a genetic disease that plagues our population. We propose a trade agreement, mining rights in exchange for advanced binars technology." The chamber erupted in a flurry of discussion. Peter's mind whirled, processing the implications. He glanced at Tina, seeing his own mix of surprise and intrigue mirrored in her expression. "If I may," Peter interjected, silencing the room, "what if we considered a joint mining operation? Equal effort, equal benefits for both species." Kraz's yellow eyes narrowed, a flicker of interest visible in their depths. "An intriguing proposal, human. Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially believed." The negotiations stretched on for hours, a delicate dance of proposals and counteroffers. During a brief recess, Peter found himself alone with Tina in a small antechamber. "You're doing well," Tina said softly, her hand brushing against his arm. Peter felt the familiar surge of energy at her touch, intensified by the stress and high stakes of their situation. Without thinking, he pulled her close, their bodies melding as energy crackled between them. The transfer was more powerful than anything they'd experienced before, leaving them both breathless and glowing. As they parted, Peter caught a glimpse of movement at the chamber's entrance. Several Arcturian and Binars delegates quickly looked away, but the ripple of excitement that passed through them was unmistakable. Before Peter could process the implications of what had just happened, Commander Zax burst into the room. "News from Arcturia," he announced, his skin pulsing with urgency. "Elder Vox has rallied the conservative faction. They're supporting the peace talks." Peter felt a surge of hope. With united support from Arcturia, their position in the negotiations was stronger than ever. As they filed back into the main chamber, Peter's comlink chimed. A breathless Arcturian scientist appeared on the small screen. "Peter, we've made a breakthrough with the bioluminescent organisms. They can be used to synthesize the mineral the Binars need." Peter's eyes widened. This changed everything. As the negotiations resumed, Peter stepped forward, his heart racing. "Commander Kraz, delegates of both species, I have a proposal that could benefit us all." He outlined the new discovery, watching as understanding dawned on the faces around him. "I propose a collaborative research project," Peter concluded. "Together, we can develop this technology, eliminating the need for invasive mining and fostering cooperation between our peoples." Kraz leaned back, his scales shimmering as he considered the proposal. After a moment that felt like an eternity, he nodded. "Your innovation is impressive, Peter Wright. We agree to a ceasefire and the establishment of a joint scientific outpost on Arcturia." As the details were hammered out, Peter felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had done it. War had been averted, and a new era of cooperation was dawning. As the Arcturian delegation prepared to depart, Commander Zax pulled Peter aside. "There's something you need to know," he said, his voice low. "We've found your escape pod. The long-range communicator is still functional." Peter felt the ground shift beneath him. For the first time since crash landing on Arcturia, he had a chance to contact Earth, to go home. As they boarded the shuttle back to Arcturia, Peter's mind reeled. The choice before him was monumental. return to Earth or remain on Arcturia, continuing the work he'd begun. The shuttle's view screen filled with the swirling blues and greens of Arcturia's atmosphere. Peter gazed at the planet that had become his home, feeling the warmth of Tina's presence beside him. As they began their descent, he knew the most difficult decision of his life lay ahead. As the shuttle pierced through Arcturia's atmosphere, Peter's comlink chimed. Commander Zax's voice crackled through the device. "Peter, we need you at the scientific outpost immediately. There's been a breakthrough." Peter exchanged a glance with Tina, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with curiosity. The shuttle changed course, banking towards the newly established joint Arcturian Binarce's research facility. Upon landing, Peter and Tina were greeted by a mixed team of excited Arcturian and Binarce scientists. Dr. Liana, the lead Arcturian researcher, rushed forward, her skin flickering rapidly with excitement. "Peter, Tina, you won't believe what we've discovered," she exclaimed, leading them into the facility. "We found a way to combine the bioluminescent organisms with our technologies. The result is, well, see for yourself." They entered a cavernous laboratory where a pulsing orb of energy floated above a complex array of equipment. The sphere radiated a soft, blue-green light that seemed to ripple and flow like water. "It's beautiful," Tina whispered, reaching out to touch it. Dr. Liana nodded. "And powerful. This energy source could revolutionize both our societies. It's clean, self-sustaining, and incredibly efficient." As Peter absorbed the implications of this discovery, his comlink chimed again. This time, it was Elder Vox himself. "Peter, we need you at the High Council immediately. We have visitors." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Peter found himself in the Grand Council chambers, surrounded by an array of alien races he had never seen before. Representatives from distant star systems had arrived, drawn by news of the groundbreaking energy discovery. Peter's unique position as a human on Arcturia suddenly thrust him into a new role. The High Council looked to him to help bridge the cultural gaps between the diverse group of aliens. "Peter," Counselor Zara said, her skin pulsing with a mix of anxiety and hope, "your experience as an outsider who has integrated into our society is invaluable. We need your help to navigate these new diplomatic waters." Peter nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He turned to address the gathered representatives, drawing on his experiences and the lessons he'd learned since crash landing on this alien world. As the diplomatic talks progressed, Peter found himself at the center of a whirlwind of negotiations, cultural exchanges, and scientific discussions. His days became a complex dance of mediating between different species, explaining Earth concepts to curious aliens, and helping the Arcturians adapt to their new role on the galactic stage. Amidst the chaos, Peter's relationship with Tina deepened. Their unique bond, combining human emotion with Arcturian energy transfer, became a topic of fascination among the visiting aliens. During a rare moment of privacy, Tina approached Peter, her skin glowing softly. "Peter," she said, her voice tinged with concern, "I've noticed you seem distracted lately. Is everything all right?" Peter hesitated, then decided to confide in her. "Commander Zax found my escape pod. The long-range communicator is still functional. I could contact Earth if I wanted to." Tina's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, betraying her surprise and conflicting emotions. Before she could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of Elder Vox. The Elder Arcturian's demeanor had changed dramatically since the peace talks. He approached Peter with an air of respect, his skin pulsing with what Peter had learned to recognize as excitement. "Peter," Vox began, "I have a proposal for you. We want to send young Arcturians to Earth as ambassadors, with you as their mentor. It's time we took our place in the wider galaxy, and who better to guide us than someone who bridges both worlds?" As Peter processed this unexpected offer, his comm link chimed once again. This time, it was Kraz, the Binarce's leader. "Peter Wright," Kraz's gravelly voice rumbled through the device. "Your skills have not gone unnoticed. We extend an invitation for you to visit our homeworld. Perhaps together, we can forge an even stronger alliance." Peter's mind reeled from the rapid-fire developments. He glanced at Tina, seeing his own mix of excitement and uncertainty reflected in her bioluminescent patterns. Before he could formulate a response to any of these proposals, a sharp beep emanated from his pocket. With trembling hands, Peter pulled out the communicator from his escape pod. A message from Earth scrolled across its screen, shattering his world once again. Lieutenant Peter Wright, the message read, presumed killed in action. Your disappearance has sparked a new era of space exploration. The world mourns your loss, but celebrates your legacy. Peter stared at the screen, a storm of emotions swirling within him. He was a dead man to his home planet, yet here he stood, at the center of a new interstellar community. The choice before him seemed impossible. Return to a life that had moved on without him, or embrace his new role in shaping the future of multiple worlds. As if sensing his turmoil, Counselor Zara approached, her skin pulsing with a calming blue light. Peter, she said gently, the High Council has been discussing your unique situation. We have a proposition that might offer a solution. Peter looked up, his attention caught by the hint of hope in her voice. Zara continued, we propose a mission to establish formal contact between Earth and Arcturia. You would lead this initiative, serving as a bridge between your birth world and your adopted home. The proposition hung in the air, pregnant with possibility. Peter's gaze swept across the room, taking in the diverse array of alien faces, each representing a potential future he never could have imagined. Tina stepped forward, her hand brushing against his arm in that familiar, energy-transferring touch. I'll go with you, she said, her voice filled with perseverance. If you choose this path, you won't have to face it alone. As Peter opened his mouth to respond, a commotion erupted outside the council chambers. The doors burst open, revealing a group of Arcturians, their skin flashing with angry red pulses. No more changes, one of them shouted. Arcturia for Arcturians. Peter recognized the leader of the group, a conservative elder who had opposed his presence from the beginning. The protesters pushed into the room, their shouts growing louder as they demanded an end to the rapid changes reshaping their society. In that moment, Peter realized that his decision would impact far more than just his own future. The path he chose would shape the destiny of Earth, Arcturia, and potentially the entire galactic community. As he stepped forward to address the protesters, Peter knew that the greatest challenges and opportunities of his life were yet to come. Were yet to unfold. Peter took a deep breath, steadying himself as he faced the angry protesters. Please, let's discuss this calmly, he said, raising his hands in a placating gesture. I understand your concerns. Change can be frightening, but it can also bring incredible opportunities. The lead protester scoffed, his skin flashing a deep crimson. Opportunities? You mean the destruction of our way of life? Peter realized that simply responding to their anger wouldn't be enough. He needed to take more decisive action. I propose a public forum, he announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. An open discussion where all Arcturians can voice their concerns and hear about the benefits of our interstellar initiatives. Elder Vox nodded approvingly, his skin pulsing with a mix of relief and admiration. A wise suggestion, Peter. We will make the necessary arrangements immediately. In the days that followed, Peter worked tirelessly to organize the forum. He coordinated with both supporters and opponents, ensuring all voices would be heard. The event was scheduled to take place in the grand amphitheater of the capital city, with live transmissions reaching every corner of Arcturia. As Peter took the stage, he felt the weight of countless eyes upon him. The amphitheater was packed, with Arcturians of all factions present. He began by addressing the isolationists' concerns directly, acknowledging the rapid changes their society was experiencing. I stand before you not as an outsider, but as someone who has grown to love this world and its people, Peter said, his voice strong and clear. The path we're embarking on isn't about erasing Arcturian culture, but about sharing its beauty and wisdom with the galaxy. He went on to outline the potential benefits of interstellar cooperation, from technological advancements to cultural exchanges. As he spoke, he could see the tension in the crowd beginning to ease. Then, Tina stepped forward. Her skin glowed with a mesmerizing pattern as she addressed her fellow Arcturians. I've experienced firsthand the growth that comes from embracing new perspectives, she said, her voice filled with passion. Our connection with Peter and the wider galaxy doesn't diminish who we are. it enhances it. Her words seemed to resonate deeply with the audience. Peter could see the ripple of changing colors across the crowd as minds began to open. Just as the forum was drawing to a close, Peter's comm link chimed urgently. It was Dr. Liana from the Joint Scientific Outpost. "Peter, you need to come immediately. We've made another breakthrough." Within the hour, Peter and Tina were racing towards the research facility. As they entered the main laboratory, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away. A holographic display filled the center of the room, showing complex molecular structures shifting and recombining. Dr. Liana's skin was pulsing with excitement as she explained, "We've discovered that our new energy source has incredible medical applications. It can treat diseases across multiple species, even some that were previously incurable for humans." Peter's mind reeled at the implications. This discovery could revolutionize healthcare not just on Arcturia, but on Earth as well. It added a new level of urgency to the planned mission to his home planet. As they discussed the potential impact of this breakthrough, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Commander Zax's voice crackled over the intercom. "Security breach at the spaceport. The Earth mission ship is under threat." Peter's heart raced as he and Tina rushed to the spaceport. They arrived to find chaos. Arcturian security forces were engaged in a standoff with a group of Binar's intruders. Kraz's gravelly voice came through Peter's comm link. "Peter, a rogue faction of my people is attempting to sabotage your mission. They've planted explosives on the ship." Without hesitation, Peter sprang into action. "I'm going in," he told Tina, his eyes meeting hers for a brief, intense moment. As he navigated the labyrinth of the ship's interior, Peter's earthborn physiology gave him an unexpected advantage. The higher gravity of his home planet had endowed him with greater strength and agility than the Arcturians or Binars were accustomed to. Peter leapt over obstacles and squeezed through narrow passages, his movements fluid and precise. He located the explosives and, with steady hands, began the delicate process of disarming them. The Binar's saboteurs, caught off guard by Peter's capabilities, were quickly apprehended by the Arcturian security forces. As Peter emerged from the ship, victorious, he was met with awestruck gazes from both Arcturians and Binars alike. Kraz, who had arrived at the scene, approached Peter with a mix of gratitude and respect. "Your actions today have not only saved the mission, but have also strengthened our alliance," he said. "I would like to offer a Binar's diplomat to join your Earth mission as a gesture of our commitment to peace." As the excitement of the thwarted attack subsided, Peter found himself facing an unexpected personal challenge. Tina pulled him aside, her skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Peter," she said softly, "something's happening to me. The energy transfers between us. They're changing me." Peter listened in astonishment as Tina explained the physical transformations she was experiencing, subtle shifts in her biology that seemed to mirror human traits. The implications were staggering, hinting at a deeper connection between their species than anyone had imagined. As word of Tina's condition spread, the High Council requested that she remain on Arcturia for further study. Peter found himself torn between his mission to Earth and his desire to support Tina through this crucial time. Elder Vox approached Peter, his expression grave. "Your presence may be necessary for Tina's transformation," he said. "This could be a pivotal moment in Arcturian evolution." Before Peter could respond, his comm link chimed once again. It was another transmission from Earth, and its contents added yet another layer to Peter's already complex decision. The message revealed that Peter's presumed death had sparked a global unity movement on Earth. Nations were coming together, pooling resources to expand humanity's presence in space. His return as an ambassador from an advanced alien civilization could potentially accelerate Earth's progress by centuries. As Peter grappled with the weight of his decision, a new voice entered the conversation. Dr. Lyra, the lead Arcturian geneticist studying Tina's transformation, approached with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "I may have a solution," she said, her skin pulsing with excitement. "We might be able to temporarily postpone Tina's transformation, allowing her to safely travel to Earth while continuing her evolution. This could allow you to fulfill your mission while also supporting Tina through her changes." Peter's mind raced with possibilities as he considered Dr. Lyra's proposal. The launch window for the Earth mission was fast approaching, and he knew that his decision would have far-reaching consequences for both his adopted home and the planet of his birth. As he looked at Tina, her skin glowing with an otherworldly light, Peter realized that the path ahead would require all of his courage, wisdom, and love. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and the next steps he took would shape the future of human-Arcturian relations for generations to come. Come. Peter took a deep breath, his mind racing with the implications of Dr. Lyra's proposal. He turned to Tina, her skin pulsing with a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. "What do you think?" he asked softly. "Are you willing to try this?" Tina's gaze met his, her eyes shimmering with tenacity. "I trust Dr. Lyra, and I trust you, Peter. If this gives us a chance to complete the mission together, I'm ready." With their decision made, the next few days became a whirlwind of activity. Peter and Tina underwent a series of intensive medical examinations and briefings with Dr. Lyra and her team. The procedure was experimental, but the Arcturian scientists had confidence in their ability to stabilize Tina's transformation. As Peter watched Tina being prepared for the first treatment, he couldn't help but feel a mix of hope and apprehension. Dr. Lyra approached him, her skin glowing with a calming blue. "The process will involve carefully calibrated energy transfers," she explained. "We'll be using a combination of your unique energy signature and our most advanced genetic stabilization techniques." The procedure began, and Peter found himself mesmerized by the intricate dance of light and energy surrounding Tina. Hours passed, feeling like mere moments, until finally, Dr. Lyra stepped back with a satisfied nod. "The initial phase is complete," she announced. "Tina's transformation has been temporarily slowed. We'll need to continue treatments throughout the journey, but she should be able to travel safely." With this obstacle addressed, Peter threw himself into the mission preparations. The launch date was rapidly approaching, and there was still much to be done. He worked tirelessly, coordinating with the diverse team of ambassadors assembled for the Earth mission. In the massive hangar where the interstellar vessel awaited, Peter led briefings and training sessions. Arcturians, Binars, and representatives from other alien races gathered around him, eager to learn about the planet they would soon be visiting. "Earth is a world of incredible diversity," Peter explained, gesturing to a holographic display of his home planet. "Its cultures, languages, and ecosystems vary wildly from region to region. We must be prepared for anything." As the team immersed themselves in learning Earth's social norms and customs, Peter couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The unity and cooperation he saw before him was a testament to the progress they had made. However, not everyone shared his optimism. On the eve of the launch, a commotion at the spaceport threatened to derail everything. Peter rushed to the scene to find a large crowd of protesters blocking access to the launch site. Their skin flashed angry red as they chanted slogans demanding an end to the mission. Peter's heart sank as he recognized some of the faces in the crowd, members of the isolationist faction he had hoped to win over. For a moment, he feared all their hard work would be for nothing. Taking a deep breath, Peter stepped forward to address the crowd. "I understand your fears," he began, his voice carrying across the tense gathering. "Change is never easy, especially on this scale. But I ask you to consider the opportunities this mission represents." As he spoke, Peter could see the colors rippling across the protesters' skin, signaling a shift in their emotions. He pressed on, outlining the potential benefits of Earth contact and the safeguards in place to protect Arcturian interests. After intense negotiations, a compromise was reached. The protest leaders agreed to send a representative on the mission, ensuring their concerns would be addressed during the diplomatic proceedings. With this final hurdle cleared, the day of the launch arrived. The spaceport was alive with excitement as dignitaries from multiple alien races gathered for the grand ceremony. Peter and Tina made their way through the crowd, their skin glowing with anticipation. As they approached the ship, a familiar figure stepped into their path. Elder Vox stood before them, his expression a mix of commitment and humility. "Peter, Tina," he said, his voice carrying a note of solemnity, "I have come to a decision. I wish to join the mission as a cultural ambassador." Peter's surprise quickly gave way to gratitude. Elder Vox's presence would add legitimacy to the expedition and help allay the fears of the conservative Arcturian faction. With the final preparations complete, Peter, Tina, and the rest of the crew boarded the sleek interstellar vessel. As the engines roared to life, Peter felt a surge of emotion. He was returning to Earth, but not as the man who had left it. He was coming back as a bridge between worlds. The journey through space was a testament to the incredible technology at their disposal. Stars streaked by as they traversed vast distances, closing the gap between Arcturia and Earth. Throughout the voyage, Peter and Tina continued their energy transfers under Dr. Lyra's watchful eye. Each session revealed new insights into the compatibility between human and Arcturian biology, hinting at possibilities that went far beyond their personal connection. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, a message crackled through the ship's communication system. Peter's heart raced as he recognized the voice of Earth's Space Command. Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Space Command. You are entering restricted airspace. Identify yourself and state your intentions immediately. The moment of truth had arrived. Peter took a deep breath, preparing to bridge the gap between his past and the incredible future that lay before them. With Tina by his side and a ship full of alien ambassadors behind him, he opened a channel to his homeworld, ready to usher in a new era of interstellar relations. Cooperation. As the ship hurtled through space, Earth grew from a distant blue marble to a familiar sphere of swirling clouds and vast oceans. Peter's heart raced as he gazed upon his home planet. The anticipation in the air was palpable as the crew prepared for their descent. He turned to Tina, her skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Ready?" he asked softly. She nodded, her eyes fixed on the approaching planet. "As I'll ever be." The ship's advanced systems engaged, guiding them smoothly into Earth's atmosphere. As they pierced through the clouds, Peter activated the ship's communication array. "Earth Space Command, this is Ambassador Peter Chen of the Arcturian Diplomatic Mission, requesting permission to land at the designated coordinates." There was a moment of tense silence before a response crackled through the speakers. "Ambassador Chen, this is Earth Space Command. Permission granted. Welcome home." The ship's cloaking technology disengaged, revealing its sleek, otherworldly design to the eyes of the world below. Peter could see the countless camera flashes from news helicopters circling their descent path. As they approached the landing zone outside the United Nations headquarters in New York City, Peter took a deep breath. He glanced around at his fellow crew members, Tina, Elder Vox, the Baynarsis diplomat, and representatives from other alien races. Each face showed a mix of dedication and apprehension. The ship touched down with barely a tremor. Through the view screen, Peter could see the massive crowd gathered behind security barriers. World leaders, military personnel, and media representatives stood at attention, their eyes fixed on the vessel. Dr. Lyra approached Tina, running a final check with her medical equipment. "Your condition remains stable," she reported. "Remember, if you feel any changes, alert us immediately." Peter nodded gratefully to the doctor before turning to address the crew. "This is the moment we've prepared for. Let's make history." As the ship's doors slid open, Peter stepped out first. The sunlight hit his face, and he blinked, taking in the familiar yet strange sensation of Earth's gravity and atmosphere. A hush fell over the crowd as they recognized his human appearance. Tina emerged next, her alien beauty immediately drawing gasps and murmurs from the onlookers. Elder Vox followed, his dignified presence commanding respect. One by one, the other alien representatives stepped onto Earth soil, their diverse appearances eliciting a mix of awe and trepidation from the crowd. Peter spotted the Earth delegation approaching, led by a woman he recognized as United Nations Secretary-General Dr. Amelia Chen. Her face was a mask of diplomatic neutrality, but he could see the wonder in her eyes. "Ambassador Chen," Dr. Chen said, extending her hand, "on behalf of the people of Earth, welcome home." Peter grasped her hand, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you, Secretary General. We come in peace and friendship." As cameras flashed and reporters called out questions, Peter began introducing the alien delegation. He had just reached Tina when he noticed a change in her demeanor. Her skin began to pulse more rapidly, emitting a soft glow. "Tina?" he asked, concern coloring his voice. She looked at him, her eyes wide. "Peter, something's happening. I can't—" Before she could finish, Tina's body erupted in a dazzling display of light. The Earth delegation stepped back in alarm as Peter moved quickly to her side. "It's all right," he called out, trying to maintain calm. "This is part of her natural process. There's no danger." He placed his hands on Tina's shoulders, initiating an energy transfer. The intimate nature of the act, performed before the eyes of the world, created a stir among the onlookers. Some watched in fascination, others with unease. Dr. Lyra rushed forward, her medical equipment at the ready. "Her transformation is accelerating," she reported. "The excitement and stress must have triggered it." The Earth medical team, led by a man Peter assumed was Dr. Marcus Reeves, cautiously approached. "We're here to help," Dr. Reeves said, his voice steady despite the extraordinary situation. "What can we do?" As human and alien medical experts worked together to stabilize Tina, Elder Vox stepped forward to address the startled Earth delegation. "Esteemed leaders of Earth," he began, his voice carrying across the now hushed landing zone. "What you witness is not a cause for alarm, but a symbol of the profound connections possible between our species. Ambassador Chen and Tina share a unique bond, one that represents the potential for understanding and cooperation between all sentient beings." His words seemed to ease some of the tension, refocusing attention on the diplomatic purpose of their visit. As Tina's condition stabilized, Peter found himself facing a barrage of questions from Earth leaders and media. "Ambassador Chen," a reporter called out, "can you explain the nature of your relationship with the Arcturian delegate?" Peter took a deep breath, aware that his response would set the tone for future human-alien interactions. "Tina and I share a connection that transcends our biological differences," he said carefully. "It's a testament to the potential for mutual understanding and growth between our species." As the questions continued, Peter navigated the complex inquiries about Arcturian culture, the galactic community, and the implications of their visit. He emphasized the potential for mutual benefit through peaceful cooperation, all while keeping a watchful eye on Tina. The day progressed in a whirlwind of introductions, preliminary discussions, and medical evaluations. As night fell, the alien delegation was escorted to a secure facility for rest and further talks. In his temporary quarters, Peter stood at a window, gazing out at the New York skyline. The city lights twinkled against the darkness, a familiar sight that now seemed so alien. He reflected on the day's events, the challenges that lay ahead, and the weight of his responsibilities. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. He turned to find Tina entering the room, her skin now emitting a soft, steady glow. "How are you feeling?" he asked, moving to her side. "Better," she replied, her eyes meeting his. "But Peter, this is only the beginning, isn't it?" He nodded, understanding the full implications of her question. As they stood together, looking out at the city that represented the heart of human civilization, Peter knew that the true test of their mission and their bond was yet to come. "Come." Peter turned to Tina, his expression a mix of commitment and concern. "We've made it this far," he said softly, "but our real work is just beginning." Tina nodded, her skin pulsing with a soft, comforting glow. "Together," she replied, taking his hand. As they stood there, the world outside their window erupted into a frenzy of activity. News of the alien delegation's arrival spread like wildfire, dominating every broadcast and social media platform. Crowds gathered in cities across the globe, their reactions ranging from jubilant celebration to fearful protest. In the days that followed, Peter and the alien delegation found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, press conferences, and security briefings. The United Nations scrambled to establish protocols for interacting with the extraterrestrial visitors, while world leaders debated the implications of this unprecedented contact. 1 week after their arrival, Peter stood before the UN General Assembly, his heart pounding as he prepared to address the world. He glanced at Tina, seated in the front row alongside Elder Vox and the other alien representatives. Her encouraging nod gave him strength. Distinguished delegates, citizens of Earth, Peter began, his voice steady despite his nerves. I stand before you today as both a son of Earth and an adoptive child of Arcturia. Our two worlds, once separated by vast stretches of space, now stand on the brink of a new era of cooperation and understanding. As Peter spoke, he could see the impact of his words rippling through the audience. He outlined the potential benefits of joining the galactic community, advancements in medicine, technology, and environmental protection. He addressed fears of cultural dilution and emphasized the importance of maintaining Earth's unique identity while embracing new perspectives. We have an unprecedented opportunity, he concluded, to forge a future that honors our past while reaching for the stars. Let us approach this new chapter with open minds and open hearts. The speech, broadcast worldwide, sparked intense debate and discussion. While many were inspired by Peter's vision, others remained skeptical or outright hostile to the idea of alien integration. Amid the political turbulence, Tina's condition took an unexpected turn. During a routine medical examination, Dr. Marcus Reeves, Earth's leading xenobiologist, noticed something extraordinary. Ambassador Chen, Dr. Reeves said, his eyes wide with excitement, you need to see this. Peter hurried to Tina's side, watching in amazement as her skin began to shimmer with an iridescent quality reminiscent of Arcturian bioluminescent organisms. The effect was subtle but unmistakable, a physical manifestation of her ongoing transformation. It's beautiful, Peter whispered, reaching out to touch her glowing skin. Dr. Reeves cleared his throat. This is fascinating from a scientific perspective. With your permission, I'd like to conduct a series of non-invasive studies to understand this adaptation better. Peter looked at Tina, who nodded her agreement. We'll participate, he said, on the condition that Dr. Lyra oversees the process. The subsequent examinations revealed that Tina's body was adapting to Earth's environment in ways that surpassed all expectations. The findings, which leaked to the press despite efforts to maintain confidentiality, ignited a global conversation about the potential for human-alien integration. As public debates raged, Elder Vox approached Peter with a proposal. We must address these fears directly, the elder said, his voice carrying the weight of wisdom. I suggest we initiate a cultural exchange program. A select group of humans could visit Arcturia, while we bring more of our people to Earth. This direct interaction could foster greater understanding. Peter's eyes lit up at the idea. That's brilliant, Elder. I'll present it to the UN immediately. The proposal gained traction among world leaders, who saw it as an opportunity to gain first-hand experience with alien cultures and technologies. However, as discussions progressed, Peter found himself caught in a web of competing interests. Earth governments pressured him to prioritize the acquisition of advanced technologies, while the Arcturian High Council urged caution in sharing their knowledge too freely. Peter spent long hours in negotiations, striving to balance the needs and concerns of both sides. In rare moments of respite, Peter and Tina found solace in each other's company. Their energy transfers grew more intense and synchronized, providing a stark contrast to the public scrutiny their relationship endured. During one such moment, as they sat in their quarters overlooking the New York skyline, Tina turned to Peter with a look of concern. How are you holding up? She asked, her skin pulsing with empathy. Peter sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's challenging, he admitted. Every decision feels like it could change the course of history, but having you here makes it bearable. Their moment of intimacy was interrupted by an urgent message. The Binar's representative requested an immediate meeting with Earth's leaders. In a conference room filled with tense anticipation, the Binars unveiled their proposal. They offered to share their advanced medical technology, including treatments that could potentially manage Tina's transformation and cure numerous human diseases. The offer sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community. Earth leaders grappled with the implications of receiving such significant technological advancements from multiple alien sources. As Earth's scientific community began to analyze the shared alien technologies, breakthroughs occurred at an unprecedented rate. Medical researchers made significant strides in treating previously incurable diseases, while engineers conceptualized new forms of energy production and space travel. However, These rapid advancements brought new challenges. Questions arose about the equitable distribution of alien technology and knowledge among Earth's nations. Political tensions escalated as some countries expressed concern about falling behind in this new era of galactic integration. Recognizing the potential for conflict, Peter proposed the establishment of an International Alien Technology and Cultural Exchange Committee, IATCO. The idea gained support from both Earth leaders and the alien delegation, seen as a crucial step towards maintaining global stability. As the IATSEC took shape, Peter found himself nominated to lead the organization. Standing before the newly formed committee, with representatives from Earth's nations and the alien delegation in attendance, Peter felt the weight of his responsibility. Tina stood by his side, her presence a living symbol of the potential for harmony between different species. As Peter prepared to address the assembly, he knew that his words would shape the future of human-alien relations. Taking a deep breath, Peter began to speak, his voice carrying the hope and challenges of this new era. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on the man who had become the bridge between worlds, Earth and humanity as a whole. As he opened his mouth to speak, a sudden commotion outside the building interrupted his thoughts. The sound of shouting and pounding feet grew louder, and Peter's eyes met Tina's in a moment of shared concern. Before anyone could react, the doors to the conference room burst open, and a group of people stormed in, their faces contorted with anger and fear. "We demand to see the aliens," one of the intruders shouted, his voice raw with emotion. "No more secrets." Security personnel rushed to intercept the group, but Peter held up a hand, signaling them to wait. He stepped forward, his posture calm and open despite the tension in the room. "I understand your concerns," Peter said, his voice steady and clear. "We're here to promote transparency and cooperation. What would you like to know?" The leader of the group, a tall man with wild eyes, faltered for a moment, clearly surprised by Peter's approach. We want to see them up close. How do we know they're not planning to take over?" As Peter engaged with the intruders, he subtly signaled to Tina and the alien delegates. Years of experience on Arcturia had honed his ability to communicate silently, and he saw understanding dawn in their eyes. "I assure you, our visitors mean us no harm," Peter continued, taking another step towards the group. "In fact, they have already shared incredible knowledge with us. Would you like to experience something truly extraordinary?" The intruders exchanged confused glances, their hostility wavering in the face of Peter's calm demeanor. Seizing the moment, Peter nodded to Tina and the alien delegates. In an instant, the room erupted with light and energy. The aliens, led by Tina, initiated a massive synchronized energy transfer. Waves of shimmering, multicolored light pulsed through the air, enveloping everyone present. The intruders stumbled back, their eyes wide with awe and disbelief. Those watching through live broadcasts gasped collectively, the stunning display captivating audiences worldwide. As the energy swirled and intensified, Peter noticed a change in Tina. Her body began to glow brighter than the others, her form seeming to ripple and shift. With a jolt of realization, he understood that the intensity of the transfer had triggered something within her. Before the eyes of the world, Tina's transformation accelerated. Her human features blended seamlessly with Arcturian traits, her skin taking on an iridescent quality that shifted and flowed like living light. Her eyes, now larger and more luminous, held depths of wisdom and understanding that seemed to transcend both species. The energy transfer reached its peak, and for a brief, breathtaking moment, everyone in the room, human and alien alike, felt connected. A sense of unity and shared consciousness washed over them, breaking down barriers of fear and mistrust. As the light faded, Tina stood transformed. She was neither fully human nor Arcturian, but a perfect synthesis of both. The intruders, who moments ago had been filled with anger and fear, now stared at her in wonder. "This," Peter said softly, gesturing to Tina, "is what's possible when we come together. Not loss of identity, but growth, evolution." The leader of the intruders stepped forward, his hostility replaced by a look of awe. I felt it. We all did. It was like I could see through everyone's eyes at once. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room and beyond. Reports began flooding in from around the globe. The energy transfer had resonated with the bioluminescent Arcturian organisms in research facilities worldwide, creating a network that had briefly connected all of humanity. As the implications of what had just occurred began to sink in, Peter turned to address the Ayat-Seek once more. The mood in the room had shifted dramatically, with even the most skeptical members looking at the alien delegates with new eyes. What we've just experienced, Peter began, his voice carrying the weight of the moment, is only the beginning. The galactic awakening, as I believe we'll come to call it, has shown us the true potential of cooperation between species. Over the next few hours, as news of the event spread, global attitudes towards the alien visitors underwent a seismic shift. Protests turned into celebrations, fear into curiosity. World leaders, many of whom had been hesitant about full integration, now pledged their full support to the ATSEC and its mission. In the days that followed, Peter and Tina found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Tina's transformation became a symbol of hope and possibility, inspiring millions around the world. Scientists clamored to study her unique physiology, seeing in it the potential for incredible medical and technological breakthroughs. As the cultural exchange program gained momentum, Peter worked tirelessly to coordinate the first wave of human visitors to Arcturia. Simultaneously, he oversaw the integration of more alien visitors on Earth, ensuring that the lessons learned from the galactic awakening were put into practice. One evening, as they stood on the balcony of their New York apartment, Peter turned to Tina. Her new form still took his breath away, a living embodiment of the bridges they were building between worlds. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" he asked, taking her hand. Tina smiled, her luminous eyes reflecting the city lights. "Not in my wildest dreams, but now that we're here, I can't imagine it any other way." As they looked out over the city, now dotted with the bioluminescent glow of Arcturian flora that had been introduced as part of the exchange program, Peter felt a sense of anticipation. The world was changing rapidly, and humanity's first steps into the wider galactic community were just beginning. In the labs below, scientists worked around the clock, integrating alien technologies with human ingenuity. New forms of space travel were already on the drawing board, promising to open up the stars to human exploration in ways that had once seemed impossible. Peter knew that challenges lay ahead. The rapid pace of change would bring its own set of problems, and not everyone would adapt easily to this new reality. But as he stood there with Tina, watching the world transform before his eyes, he felt ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, as Peter prepared for another day of meetings and negotiations, a message arrived from the United Nations Space Agency. They were requesting his presence for an urgent briefing. As he read the details, his heart began to race with excitement. It seemed that humanity's journey to the stars was about to take its next great leap forward.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.